want to thank everyone for coming to our finance hearing. We know we have a quorum. To my left is Councilman Greenlee. To my right is Councilman Swiller. To his right, Councilman Dom. And we're asking Maria Canones to be appointed so that we may have our quorum and begin. Thank you very much. The clerk will read the title of Bill number 180-600.
180-600, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-3200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Keystone Opportunity Zone, Economic Development District, and Strategic Development Area by providing for further Keystone Opportunity Expansion Zones under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much. The chair thanks all who are here and asks Dwayne Baum, thank you, Senior Deputy Director, Department of Commerce, to come forward. Thank you for being here, and we ask you to begin your testimony.
Good morning, Councilwoman Blackwell and members of the Committee on Finance.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dwayne Baum, and I'm the Senior Deputy Director for Business Development with the Department of Commerce. I'm here this morning to offer testimony regarding Bill number 180-600, which would authorize the City of Philadelphia to apply to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for new Keystone Opportunity Zone designations. The Keystone Opportunity Zone program was created in 1999 to stimulate development on vacant or underutilized parcels of land. Through this program, both local and state taxes are waived for a period of 10 years. The Keystone Opportunity Zones, also referred to as KOZs, allow the city to spur economic development and attract businesses that may not otherwise choose to develop or locate in Philadelphia. KOZs have generated hundreds of millions of dollars in private investment and more than 10,000 jobs in our city. As in previous rounds of KOZ extensions and designations, the city will require private owners to make payment in lieu of taxes, otherwise known as a pilot, in the amount of 110% of what otherwise would have been the real estate tax liability for the property in its current condition. That pilot payment will be allocated to the school district and the general fund in the same proportions as the real estate tax revenues. The deadline for the application to the Commonwealth is October 1st, 2018. Given that City Council is headed into summer recess, we respectfully ask that this committee pass this legislation out of committee with a suspension of rules to allow for first reading this Thursday. This will give the school district more certainty about which parcels are being submitted for KOZ designation to be included in the school board resolution, another necessary step in this application process. We intend to finalize the resolution in August and hope to receive final passage in September from City Council when it returns, so that we can finalize and submit our application to the Commonwealth. Finally, I would like to thank the members of City Council who have provided input into this list of parcels. An amendment has been prepared for your consideration, incorporating additional properties into the legislation before you today. Keystone Opportunity Zones play a vital role in the continued economic development of Philadelphia and are key to creating new jobs. Yes. I appreciate your time this morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you very much. The chair notes that Councilman O is here as well. Are there any questions or comments? Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just had in the proposed amendment to the bill, there's several locations listed. Do you think all those are potentially eligible?
We received these relatively recently. This has been a fast-moving process, and we've done some preliminary review of them, and we do think that some of these sites will not be eligible. The test for that for us would be, are the sites occupied? And so if we go by a commercial property and there is an operating business in that property, it on its face will not be eligible. The other sort of tests that we would be looking at as a longstanding policy would be whether it's a residential use or likely to be a residential use, where we would not want to encourage that. We are looking to create opportunities for job generation, and so residential does not do that. So we don't know that yet. We've done some preliminary work, and we'll have a better sense of that later this summer, and clearly we'll have a better sense when we come back, or before this comes to final passage.
So in your testimony, you said the KOZ, which I'm in favor of, basically gives companies the opportunity to go into a zone where they are excluded from paying certain taxes. And they normally wouldn't come into the city if they had to pay those taxes, I'm assuming. Is there one or two specific taxes that motivates them to come in that gets waived? Can you identify what those taxes would be?
Well, the local taxes that are waived under this, the four large categories would be real estate tax, use and occupancy tax, sales tax, the 2% local component, as well as the 6% state component, and the business income and receipts tax. It also waives state taxes, and so depending on what the business is, certain of those taxes will have much more impact to them than others, and different types of businesses will have different for some businesses, the business income and receipts tax exemption is a very powerful sort of motivator. Again, for the real estate tax, since we are putting a pilot or payment in lieu of taxes in place anyway, you're effectively paying 110% of what you would have paid under the exemption.
Right.
So that's a little bit netted out. And then for sort of large commercial properties, U&O tax is another does lower the sort of cost of doing business in those first 10 years of operations.
What I'm trying to figure out, is there a tax, maybe it's the BERT tax or whatever, that is one particular tax that's been a major impediment for businesses to come into the city or expand in the city, which the KOZ handles, and I'm wondering which tax would that be?
Again, different sort of developments will impact differently. I would sort of say if we're talking about attracting businesses from outside the city into the city, corporate headquarters in particular, the BERT tax is the one where this is most compelling and powerful.
The net income portion of the BERT?
Yes.
Which is what, 6.2 to 6.3?
Yes.
Okay, so you think that's the number one, the net income portion of the BERT?
Right. For a developer, again, because the real estate sort of pilot nets out the real estate tax savings, the compelling sort of tax would probably be the sales tax, so that all materials and equipment that are purchased for that site for the construction are exempted from that 8%. So there's an 8% savings built into that for a developer.
That's a one-time. The net income
That's right.
portion is an annual.
That's right.
For 10 years. One last question. The real estate values of the current KOZs, after the KOZ burns off, have we seen any change in the value of the rents being offered for lease? Have they gone up, down, stayed the same? Has there been any change in the value of the real estate without the KOZ?
We've seen sort of real estate values going up, whether they're in the assessments are going up, and because in a commercial or an office or setting, most are triple net leases, where the savings in real estate tax right now will pass through to the tenant at the end of the abatement period. I would say the real test is actually next year. We have several commercial properties, both in University City and at the Navy Yard, that will expire at the end of this year. And the earlier rounds of KOZ were largely focused on industrial properties where they were owned by the business. So we haven't seen as much commercial activity impact as we will see sort of next year when those properties become taxable.
Are we supposed to be studying the benefits of the KOZ and what is going to occur after the KOZ burns off? Isn't that part of the study that we're having?
The incentive study, yes. Yeah, it is in fact one of the sort of several incentive components that we are sort of drilling down into to better understand. That's right.
Do you have any idea when that study is going to come through?
I think there's been a delay in that. I think it will probably at this point be either later this summer or early this fall.
So you think it'll be before 2019?
I think it'll be before City Council comes back into session this fall.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. The chair
End of
notes
the year.
that Councilwoman Reynolds Brown is present. Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. I don't have any questions about this particular bill, but I do have a question in general about KOZs. If a KOZ is approved, can a KOZ be unapproved by an amendment to the bill?
Once we submit an application to the state, KOZ is a state program, so we will apply to participate in that program. We need City Council authorization to make that application. Once we're in the program where we have sort of committed to sort of waiving certain taxes for a defined period of time, in this case 10 years, there is no sort of, the states are saying we have a commitment now, and as does that business. I will say that each business every year must apply to be certified for continued participation in the program. So if a business, and that's a certification to the state every year, and the city reviews and approves as well. If a business becomes delinquent in any sort of obligation to the city or state, they could be excluded from the program that year until they sort of become current. If a business does not meet its initial commitment for job creation, if that was one of the sort of tests for them getting certification, they can be denied again by the state. So the business applying each year has to apply each year.
Okay.
It's a pretty perfunctory review generally, but it doesn't, if a business has sort of dramatically changed sort of scale, they can be denied.
Okay, my concern is for any business that does not live up to its promises, of course, but I'm also concerned about nonprofits that act as a nonprofit and then hire a for-profit management company to run it as a business, because I think those are two different things. They're a nonprofit and they are focused on, let's say, successful innovation, and then they hire a nonprofit and now they're focused on high rents. I think those are two different purposes. But, you know, thank you for the answer.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Any questions, further questions or comments? Thank you very much. Will the clerk please read the title of Bill number 180603?
180603, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Senior Citizen Low-Income Special Tax Provisions by providing for regulations relating to eligibility under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much. The chair notes that Councilwoman Cindy Bass is also present. Will Marissa Waxman come forward? Thank you. First Deputy Commissioner, Department of Revenue. Good morning, and feel free to begin your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Councilwoman Blackwell and members of the Committee on Finance. My name is Marissa Waxman. I am the First Deputy Revenue Commissioner. I'm here today to support Bill 180603. This bill authorizes the Department of Revenue to revise the real estate tax regulations to expand eligibility for the low-income senior citizen real estate tax freeze program to include residents of cooperative buildings. For participants in this program, the real estate tax bill on their home will not increase, even if their assessed value or the rate increases in the future. Applicants must meet both age and income requirements to be found eligible for a real estate tax freeze. An eligible senior is someone who meets any of the following requirements: a person aged 65 or older, a person who lives in the same household with a spouse who is aged 65 or older, or a person aged 50 or older who is a widow or widower of someone who reached age 65 before passing away. Additionally, applicants must meet income requirements of $23,500 or less for a single person, or $31,500 or less for a married couple. This program currently has over 13,000 low-income seniors enrolled that save on average $561 with the senior freeze, plus they all receive the homestead exemption, bringing the total average discount to just shy of $1,000 per year. Presently, applicants for the senior tax freeze need to be the owner of the home. This works for the vast majority of homeowners in Philadelphia in single-family homes, row houses, and condos, but cooperative buildings work a little bit differently. Cooperative buildings or complexes are owned by a legal entity, run by a board, and with the residents owning shares of the legal entity rather than the individual unit. The co-op has a single OPA account number and gets a single tax bill for the entire complex. It is up to the governing board to figure out how to allocate the bill among the members. There are 11 co-op buildings in Philadelphia with a total of around 2,600 owner-occupied units. The change to revenues regulations will allow residents of co-ops who meet the age and income criteria to apply for the senior tax freeze. We expect some, but not all of the residents to be eligible. Co-ops are already eligible and are able to participate in the homestead exemption, and this will increase the available tax relief. Revenue has already reached out to the 11 co-op properties so that we can collaboratively design the application and discount calculation process, since it will be unique. We'll be implementing this change and conducting outreach at these properties this summer in advance of the fall deadline for the senior freeze applications. The administration fully supports this change to grant eligible co-op building residents access to the senior freeze program. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for this witness? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Seeing none, we will end this part of our hearing and enter into our stated meeting. The chair now recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 180600.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I offer an amendment to Bill number 180600. A copy of the amendment has been circulated. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Give me a
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 180600 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries and Bill number 180600 has been amended. The chair again recognizes Councilmember Greenlee for a motion for Bill number 180600 as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill number 180600 as amended be reported from this committee with favorable recommendation, and further move the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of the bill at our next session of council.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 180600 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries, and Bill number 180600 as amended will be reported out of this committee with a favorable recommendation and with a request that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading at our next session of council. The chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a motion on 180603.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill number 180603 be reported from this committee with favorable recommendation, and move that the rules of council be suspended to allow for first reading of the bill at our next session of council.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 180603 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and Bill number 180603 will be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation and also a request for a suspension of the rules so as to permit first reading at our next session of council. That completes our work for this committee this morning. Let me thank all my colleagues for being here, all members of this committee, and all of you who have come or who have testified. This hearing is adjourned.